Welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam with a very loud windshield wiper today because it is raining just enough to obscure my vision, but not enough to warrant having the windshield wiper on completely without it scraping all over the place. As the theme music and probably title would suggest, we're going to talk about a video game, and today we're talking specifically about Madden 23, the latest entry in the Madden franchise. If you've listened to 30-minute reviews, you know I've had misgivings about this entry in Madden prior to its release. I had concerns about the fact that they're like, oh, we're going to use this as an opportunity to bring Madden back to what John Madden's original mission statement was, which was teach younger people about the origins of football and the, not origins, but like the rules of football and this, that, the other thing. And it's like, alright, cool. So Madden's on the cover, Madden's on the beginning of the game. It's a touching tribute, you know, the all Madden game that starts out, so you can learn the controls and all of that. Now, I played it on a PlayStation 5. PlayStation 5 is, there's this new field sense thing that they put in for, for the next gen consoles. I'm not entirely a fan of field sense. I don't think field sense adds nearly enough to the experience to make it worth. What the fuck are you doing? To make it worth a full, to make it worth a full, game, and make it, different enough where this is worth paying an extra $10 for. The controls are not really explained super well in the tutorials. It'll take you a few tries to get it right. I much prefer the old system, and after playing through with field sense for a little bit, I switched back to the old system, because the old bullet, lob, all of that, just by holding on the button longer. The haptic feedback is pretty cool for running, because you'll feel resistance on the trigger when you're trying to sprint, if you're sprinting through defenders. And I will also say this about the game. The ratings of the players feels a lot more important than it has in the past. Because in the past, regardless of difficulty, if you set the difficulty really low and played as a quarterback who throws a lot of interceptions, like for me, I always play as the Giants. Daniel Jones, he's fine, but he throws a lot of interceptions. If you set the difficulty on high, you have to really think about where you're throwing. That was even in the old game too. But in the older games, if you set the difficulty on rookie and then bump the sliders, you could still kind of get around caring about where you throw the ball. Your receiver will always catch it. The defender will never catch it. I think that like in an entire season with the difficulty set really low in the old game, I maybe threw 1 or 2 interceptions in an entire season. In the new game, it matters a lot more. The statistics that go into your various players matter a lot more deeply than they do in the older games. Daniel Jones, for example, threw 4 interceptions in the first half, and I had to switch him out with Tyrod Taylor because I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And that's, just that happening. There's a new system also that is pretty cool where momentum is used, where the better you do, the more momentum you get, the worse the other team does, because their abilities are affected. And there are game day changes that vary on the day. Like one game, my players fatigued slower because they had more rest time that week, because it was a Monday night game. 1 week, the kick direction thing was basically non-existent because of weather conditions, and it's just things like that that make it feel more authentic and feel more, more authentically like football. Ultimate Team is still there. I'm not thrilled about Ultimate Team. I'm not thrilled about, as soon as you start the game, EA trying to get data from you by opting into a bunch of stuff in exchange for Ultimate Team packs. I'm not thrilled about, Ultimate Team as a service in general. I played it a little bit in past games, like way back in like 20, probably whichever one was the GOAT edition, because I bought the GOAT edition that had Tom Brady on the cover, and it came with a bunch of those. Whatever year that was the last time I played Ultimate Team, and buying the Ultimate Team packs and all of that, it's like, all right, it's not fun. It's just there. Like, to say it's anything more than that is ridiculous. I'm not a fan of it. No story mode. Long shot is long gone. We have Face of the Franchise, which allows you to pick a player and then you have to level yourself up and get through it, kind of RPG-like. It's a pretty cool idea. The UIs are all completely different, which is nice. My biggest complaint, and this has been my complaint about these games for a long time, and I would have thought that putting it on a next-gen console would have fixed this issue, but very much not the case. I have a problem with how everything looks when you're in an actual game. Now, if you're in a game and you're watching and you're playing, you're going to see, like, for the most part, reasonably consistent. What's I'm looking for here? Reasonably consistent graphics across the entire thing. The AI is not good at mimicking realism, is what I'll say. The AI is not good at looking at where player trajectories are in the post-play cutscenes. And what I mean by that is, after a play, you get to see everyone getting up after they've all been tackled, everyone's getting up and walking away. The game doesn't have, I guess for whatever reason, they don't have hitboxes on the players in those scenarios. Are you letting me in, motherfucker? No, I guess you are. They don't have hitboxes on the players, they don't have anything like that. So, and this has been an issue for some time now, where players will walk through each other, players will walk, or worse yet, I think the worst idea is players will walk into each other and then keep trying to walk, but you'll see limbs passing through people, you'll see, other things like that are, unique, and you would think that as we get to this point where we have better and better AI and we have better and better system capabilities, this would go the wayside. That's just simply not the case, though, unfortunately. Unfortunately, we're still stuck with these graphical glitches. Now, I mean, I've been noticing them as long as we've been on PS4. And I think if that, like there's no reason why these glitches should still be existing at this point in this. Like, I feel like there's no way I'm the only... What the fuck is this truck running on? I feel like there's no reason why these should still exist beyond just it's not a big enough issue to warrant changing anything. It's not a big enough deal to be like, we're going to hunker down and figure out this problem, because how many people really care? And it's like, well, I do. And it's the kind of thing where it's like, not much else really changed this year besides the new throwing mechanics, the new motion sets, or whatever the hell it's called. Motion sets is a Wii thing, but whatever the new motion mechanics are, this motherfucking truck, that's the biggest change year to year. And if that's the only change we have going on, then there really is no reason why we have these issues still remaining. This should be a pretty cut and dry issue to solve. I'm not saying it's an easy issue to solve or something like that, but I'm saying that if you gave, over the course of a year, and now over the course of many years, if you gave someone the ability to, just set them down and been like, look, this doesn't look normal. And too, it's like even the way the players and the coaches are designed on the field, it's like, yeah, there's like a sheen to them, like sweat, and they do get sweaty over the course of the game and stuff like that. But there's still this uncanny valley, like, look at all of the players, where it's like their eyes are like not quite in focus or looking at anything specifically. There's still this like plastically look to them. And anytime they cut to the stands, there's that same thing where it's like everyone kind of looks like somewhat real, but not really. It's not a great, it's still not great. And it still is the kind of thing that, like, look, if we're looking for, is the message that EA is sending that we have reached the peak of graphics fidelity that we're going to do, and now we're just going to care about the, we're just going to care about, gameplay experience. If that's the case, I don't think motion sense or move sense, or whatever the hell it's called, is nearly enough to say, well, here's why you're paying an extra $10 over the other one. Especially considering, I don't know if I'm the only one, but I did not like the way that was implemented. It felt way too, there's too much to remember, and I'm like, this is not fun for me. Like, in the same way that, if I have to sit here and remember, okay, so if I'm going to do a touch pass, I got to hold it this long. If I'm going to do a lob pass, I got to hold it this long. If I'm going to do a bullet pass, I got to hold it this long. But it's like, I don't understand why that was designed that way. And it's like, I get why it was done, and it was to take full advantage of what the controllers can do in next gen. But I don't think it's enough to be like, all right, we are doing the best, we possibly can. We're trying to make this as unique an experience as possible. I think it's more, we need something to justify spending charging an extra $10 for it this year, and this will be it. We're using this. But then come next year, what's the new thing going to be? Is the new thing going to be, you're going to fix that? Are you going to add in a new gameplay mode that's going to make the game, more entertaining to play? Is that what we're going for? Or are we just, dealing with, have we plateaued? And I feel like that's what we're at. If the big feature that we're advertising as this year's big giant thing is a change of what's the word I'm looking for here? A change of control scheme, then I feel like maybe you need to take a step back. And I've said this before, I did an entire episode about it a few years back. EA should be considering maybe giving the license to other companies if this is all they're going to do. Like, if all they're going to do is this, and the thing is, too, I still think that, like, if we're talking about systems that need an overhaul, I think running needs an overhaul, too. Rushing definitely needs an overhaul. And everything else kind of feels the same. There hasn't been a substantive change to, to defending and all of that since the hit stick was introduced a few years back. And the hit stick could definitely use some improvements, where, which direction are you doing it has different impact, like that those are all things that could be improved, but for whatever reason aren't in the cards to be improved. I'm not entirely sure why, if I'm being completely honest. It doesn't make sense to me as to why that's not there. Running with the ball needs improvement. Like, the mechanics of catching on the fly need improvement. If we're dealing with a console that has the processing power of the Xbox Series X or the PlayStation 5, I feel like what they should do is, once the ball's in the air, switch to a nearby receiver. Because you have that processing power that can handle where the computer is changing it to. That would be an automatic thing without me having to press circle and then triangle immediately to try to play the ball, and at least give me some opportunity to play it and not just hit triangle and hope for an interception, which works sometimes, but there's really no way for me as the player to control when it works and when it doesn't. So it feels more luck-based than skill-based. And it's that kind of thing where it's like, all of these other systems desperately need to be reworked, and for them to sit there and rework passing as if they didn't rework passing a few years back when they introduced, the holding down the buttons for different passes in the first place, before being like, oh, and now we're going to change it again. It's like, I don't know. I feel like that was an unforced error, kind of, on their part. That this shouldn't have been where they put all their focus. It could have been better implemented, I think. But, the game's not bad. I just wouldn't recommend paying $70 for it. I don't think it's good at $70. Because that's the thing, is that when we're talking about a game and a game's quality, price comes in and price is a factor. Is it worth paying the price that is advertised? And I don't think that that much money is worth it. I don't think it's worth it to be like, to charge that much. I'm being honest. I think that maybe had they overhauled more systems than just the passing mechanics, maybe it would have. But as it stands, where just the passing mechanics are the only difference between Game 1 and Game 2, I don't think that's worth an extra $10. And I certainly don't think that the game as a whole should be charging that much. And really, if we're being honest, I think that this game should have come out on the Switch as well. I'm going to address that quickly. Because if you're saying we're going to use this tool to teach the younger generation about the rules of football, the proper rules of football, maybe put in put it on the Switch, which has a giant market share of younger players. And then on top of that too, if you look at what is looking broadly at what the system capabilities of the Switch are, I don't think that you have to worry too much about that, because there's no way they don't have the PS3 engine, or the PS3 build of the game and just update the rosters and do all of that. You can do that because that's what they did for decades. And people forget this, but Madden NFL Football was a launch title on the 3DS. I had that game. Pretty fun. And there were PSP ports and all of that. I don't know why they are so adverse to putting it out on Switch. I feel like the only reason why it doesn't come out on Switch is because they probably won't make as much from Ultimate Team, and it's just pure physical game sales or digital game sales. Because I guess the attachment on Ultimate Team would not be as good. I'm assuming they probably looked at what happened, like how NBA sold, and like, well, it's not really that worth it. But make it worth it. Like, if you're gonna sit here and say, oh, we're doing this to, teach the rules of football, maybe teach the rules of football a little bit clearer without throwing people into games immediately. Maybe do like a workshop kind of mode where it's like, we're going to teach you what this is, what the various penalties are, and all of that. What's the difference between roughing the kicker and running into the kicker? All of these kind of things would be interesting and useful for younger players, but it doesn't make the cut for whatever reason. But we'll wrap up there for today. I think we've covered a lot of ground on Madden 23. I would say wait until wait until it gets a price drop. I can't advocate for paying full price for this game as it is. It's not a full enough experience with enough changes to warrant a $70, or even if you buy it on the previous generation, a $65 or a $60 price tag. I guess it's not enough there to warrant that. So we'll wrap up there for today. We'll be back with Harley Quinn probably tonight. So until then, have a great rest of your week.